Learn the most advanced recruiting techniques. Land the most desirable talent. Launch your company towards massive success. This is the Higher Power Radio Show with Rick Girard.
Does college debt hinder your ability to attract the best talent? Today we're going to explore that and find out. You know, when you get in debt, you become a slave. You know who said that, Dane?
Andrew Jackson.
Aha, I gave him the answer. I'm Rick Girard. Welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show. Our mission is to disrupt recruiting. We're here to share insights from top-performing entrepreneurs and industry experts and provide proven tactical solutions to solve your company's toughest hiring challenges. Today, our guest is Dane Petchul, the founder and president of Oracle College Planning. With a long history of helping people with their retirement finance world, Dane shifted the focus to help families, mainly parents and children, identify the best path to take for financial responsible college experience. Dane committed himself to helping families carefully protect their life savings from soaring college costs. Oh, God, yeah. Can't wait until my daughter's in college. While ensuring proper financial pathway would be in place for students, and they wouldn't be saddled with debt after graduating. So, Dane, welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show today.
Well, Rick, I appreciate the invitation. Happy to be here and excited to talk about this topic.
Absolutely. So we're going to cover a couple things today. First, we're going to talk about the effect student loans have on career choices, starting from the beginning. And then we're going to provide some solutions on how companies might be able to capitalize on that debt to attract high-performance talent. You ready to get started?
I'm ready to get started.
Let's do it. All right, so I'm going to evoke your expertise here because you work with families on a daily basis to help them kind of actually get the best value out of their college experience, right?
Correct.
All right, so let's start this out on a positive note so it's not a doomsday episode. Let's talk about ways in which a person can reduce the amount of student loan debt they take on.
All right. Probably would be smart to take half a step back just to say, why are we even having the conversation?
Yeah.
And that's just because the cost of college is astronomical. You know, it's through the roof, as we were just discussing. You know, back when I was in school, which was, as you can see, many moons ago,
yeah,
you know, it was roughly $1,000 a semester. So it wasn't that big a deal if you made a mistake and had to take half a step backwards and then,
yeah,
you know, 2 steps forwards from there. But
I think mine was roughly like $3,500 to $5,000 or something like that. It was super cheap.
Right. But in today's environment, when you look at it, that a Cal State can be costing $25,000 a year, a UC $35,000, your private schools, SC Chapman, 60 plus, and an elite school, Harvard, Stanford, you know, we're into the 70 plus thousand. It's a little bit different of a story.
Just tuition.
Well, that's what's called cost of attendance, all in. So that's everything for 1 year of college, one year of school. So yes, it has kind of changed the game a little bit. So it does require probably a little bit more thought and a little bit more planning, you know, to address this.
All right. So give our audience a bit of a snapshot on how they might be able to kind of approach this.
Okay, well, the old way of looking at it, it used to be, you know, you would choose a college, and then you would choose a major, and then you would choose a career. And you go, okay, that made sense, but kind of using college as an experience to kind of find yourself. But
sure,
in today's environment, with the cost of college being what it is, it's a little bit difficult to find yourself at those prices.
It's now high school.
And so, you know, we look at it, and we've kind of adjusted that a little bit to say, you know, you have to consider your career first and what you want to be doing. And then once you know your career, which I understand it's tough to get a high school kid to commit to what they want to do for the rest of their lives. But,
sure,
but you talk about attitude, aptitude, what they're good at, what they like doing, and then you project that out to, you know, what careers would that possibly, you know, lead to. And then once you have the career, now you look at majors and say what major feeds into that career.
Got it.
And then once you have a major, now you look at schools to say, okay, well, what schools have that major, have a good program in that major, and then that will lead towards their career.
Okay.
So college selection really becomes the key here. In the old days, it used to be you had your safety schools and you had your target schools and you had your reach schools, and all of that was just dependent upon your ability to get in, your ability to be accepted. Now you have to look at that and then kind of lay over that and say, well, it has to also be financially acceptable.
Sure.
Because you can bankrupt yourself and your family, and really take your career, derail your career early on by
Before
overpaying.
it even gets started.
Right, overpaying for college.
All right, so let's delve into that, because that's a really interesting point. I mean, what are some of the inherent challenges related to that student loan debt when you take it on and you graduate?
Well, when you take on the student loan debt and you graduate, now you come out of college, and trust me when I say I've got a lot of clients that feel like they have this elephant on their back that's strapped to, or a ball and chain that says, wow, I have now really accumulated a tremendous amount of student debt, and I've got to get this taken care of. And so they're a little bit freaked out coming out of the block saying, okay, I've got to get a job. I've got to get a job fast. And I have a lot of loan repayment to make up.
And that's a huge problem. I've got to get a job, and I got to get a job fast to pay for it. That's not necessarily a career-minded mentality.
No, it's not the ideal situation where you actually feel that pressure that, okay, I need something and I need something fast. It's not the optimum environment to be out there really looking and thinking about your career and gauging, what would be the best way to proceed forward.
Sure. Now, I read that roughly 7 million people in the U.S. are in default with their college loans. Does that sound about right?
It does sound about right. Okay, so there's 44 million people that carry student loan debt.
Yeah.
Okay, and unfortunately, the number of people in default is increasing as a percentage every single year.
Oh,
meaning it was just poor planning going in, and it's exposing itself on the other side.
And poor planning going in, which really cultivates into making poor job decisions when you come out. Right? And then not managing your career properly so you can continue to grow in your career and go up that monetary compensation structure.
Right. And I would say twofold. Poor decision planning going in, meaning you weren't really selecting, a major and a career that was going to lead you to a job that was going to be able to pay you to be able to afford.
So humanities studies and basically
so art
psychology degree, art history, probably not.
Don't necessarily automatically translate into, a good paying job.
Yeah, unless you're going for the PhD, I would imagine, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And now, along with that, though, comes that price tag. You want to talk about that debt load coming out with your PhD, as we had just briefly mentioned. I met with a client last week who did have his PhD, but also had along with it $130,000 in student loan debt. And so he's paying that off at a rate of $1,000 a month for the next 12 years to pay off that loan.
That seems to me like that's pretty low, though, right? I mean, it can get up in the million range, can it?
Oh, well, there was one example, all right,
okay.
A dentist coming out of SC, all right, where I believe he was paying roughly $1,000 a year for dental school. And then with interest on his loans and compounded, he was now up to $1 million in student loan debt, yes.
Oh, God. What does that take to pay that off? You're looking at $10,000 a month for 10 years?
In this instance, he's able to. They do offer you, different programs to pay this off. And he was able to find the one, all right, that says you just have to pay a percentage of your income for 25 years, and then they will wipe out anything that's left after 25 years.
Oh, wow.
So his loan was so extreme that in only paying a percentage of his income for 25 years, he will actually walk away paying less than he borrowed.
But that's more the exception to the rule, right?
That's definitely the exception to the rule.
All right. So we have the debt. The default rate is through the roof. It limits your ability to get a job, right? I mean, you're basically making a rash decision.
I mean, it does. You come out, and again, you have this pressure to pay off this student loan debt, and at the same time, you just graduated from college, and you have your career, your goals, your aspirations, that have brought you to this point, and there really is a conflict now. Do you take the higher paying job that's going to allow you to alleviate yourself of some of the student loan debt, or, do you follow your heart? Do you follow your passion, and become the teacher you wanted to be or the social worker you wanted to be, and, struggle with just making ends meet on a month-to-month basis?
And that's going to be the inherent problem, is that you're going to have more people going into professions like attorneys and bankers as opposed to teachers and scientists because of that, right?
I mean, exactly right.
Yeah.
So society as a whole will certainly be, impacted by, these decisions and the student loan debt.
Okay. It also affects your ability to get a job, I would imagine, especially government-related jobs if you're in default, right?
Well, if you're in default, certainly your credit's going to be destroyed. And credit is actually something that, some employers, and you would know more than I, on this end, but that they actually look at or maybe take into consideration.
Yeah, if you're in the finance realm, I mean, that's really, really important.
Oh, there's no question in my realm, in the finance realm.
Software engineers, sometimes they don't care that. You can spend all the money on games you want. All right. So, license suspension, I mean, could that result in some of these things too? Oh,
of course. When you get yourself in debt and in financial problems, certainly in my area, financial advisory, yes, they will not issue you a license or keep you, aligned with them, appointed with the different carriers there and the people you have to do business with.
So, in essence, the biggest issue here is that you're shackled to what you hate to pay the bills.
Exactly right. All right. You are forced to kind of basically put your life on hold and assume another life where you now have to just work at a job you don't really care for. You aren't excited to go into work every day. And the only thing you're thinking about is, how can I get this student loan paid off and get through this period of time so that I can actually begin the life that I had envisioned?
Yeah. So you're prolonging your actual life in order to pay off the student debt. And as a result, I think companies suffer from that because they're not hiring the right people. They're hiring people that just need the job to pay the bills, and they're probably not getting the maximum productivity out of them.
Really, they just need the paycheck. And then they're forced to go to work and do whatever they have to do, generally at a minimum level, to get their paycheck each week and kick that can down the road until they can get out.
Do enough to stop themselves from getting fired.
Right. Exactly.
God, that's such a terrible thing that we're setting up here. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're talking to Dane Petchul, the founder and president of Oracle Financial College Planning. When we get back, we were talking about college debt forcing people to make poor career decisions. We're going to when we come back, I really want to talk about how companies can capitalize this and help people to make the right career decisions.
You're listening to Higher Power with Rick Girard, giving you access to recruiting techniques that will help you hire key talent to build your company towards real success. Rick is a recruiting executive and entrepreneur who's been successfully recruiting in the aggressive Silicon Valley technology landscape for the past 2 decades. After a very successful stint at Apogee, he founded Stride Search in 2012. Based on a lean efficiency model, Stride has uniquely positioned itself as a leader in retained search for the most critical talent hires within a small organization. Whether you're a startup executive or recruiting professional, by listening to Higher Power with Rick Girard, you will walk away with skills to help you attract and hire great talent. Now back to Higher Power with Rick Girard.
Welcome back to the Higher Power Radio Show. I'm your host, Rick Girard, and today our guest is Dane Petchul, the founder and CEO of Oracle College Planning. We're discussing why college debt might be forcing people to make poor career choices as well as poor hiring decisions. So we're going to delve a little bit into that. So when people make poor career choices, we've kind of established it's mainly because of necessity that is what's impacting them, right?
Correct. As you come out of school and you're burdened with this student loan debt, you are forced to seek employment immediately.
Yeah.
And sometimes opting for the higher paying job rather than a good career choice job.
Or being an entrepreneur.
Oh, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I think that your talents are going wasted if you can't afford to pay your bills. I mean, you might have a great next new toaster, the hottest toaster of the year, and you can't make it because of that.
Right, exactly. You don't have any time to spare, basically. You come out of school and it's time to, start paying off your student loans, and so you need income immediately. You can't wait. You can't live out of the garage for, the 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years for your product to, to develop.
I'm lucky enough not to be carrying any student loans, so I'm wondering, when do you have to start paying on them?
You have to start paying, 90 days after you leave school.
After you leave school.
Right. And so as long as you're in school.
You have 3 months to find a job.
So, the good news is for those who graduate, at least you have a degree. The bad news is certainly for people who, go to college and take out student loans and then don't finish. And so now you're left with no degree and student debt.
Now, when we were talking on the phone the other day, you were telling me that it's average taking about 5.5 years for each person to graduate?
Yes. The 4-year college degree is, I can't say mythical. Your smaller private schools, maybe your elite schools will help you get through. But, in California, the average time to graduate from a California state college is 5.7 years.
5.7 years.
So you're not even talking 4 years.
Give it another year or two, and we're going to be at 6-year college.
Correct.
Wow.
And the bad news there, certainly from my side, it's just compounded because basically all of your financial aid ends after 4 years. So that 5th year, not only are you not working, the opportunity lost there, but you're also paying full price, for the price of school now because your financial aid is ended. And then heaven forbid, that 6th year.
So glad I'm not in college, but I'm not looking forward to it. I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and you know what? I'm not looking forward to that time. Hopefully she's going to be an entrepreneur. I'm encouraging her to follow the ways of, Bill Gates and, just get accepted into Harvard and then drop out after a year and start your own Facebook.
That's right. I think just having the opportunity to go to Harvard would be enough.
Right? Yeah. She could be like Zuckerberg. All right. So really what we're talking about here is regret, right? People are going to really kind of start to regret the choices they are forced to make because they have to pay back this loan. So how does this affect companies?
Well, companies certainly have to be aware of it or should be aware of it if they aren't already. That in their hiring process, when they're looking at somebody coming in, is that individual really interested in coming to work for their company to improve their company, or are they just trying to get by and pay their student loan debt?
Well, we've kind of established that most of them are not. I would guess that the cream of the crop and the people that have been within their realm of what they're training for in their career through college are, but those people who have the humanities degrees, probably not so much.
Nope. And so they're out there looking for a way to pay off that student loan debt.
So are we recommending that they don't hire people who have random degrees?
No, I think what they have to do is create an environment where they're accepting of these people and understanding, certainly, of their student loan debt.
Yeah. Inherent challenges that kind of come into play. I mean, you've got low motivation. You've got poor employee performance. This is like all the recipe for disaster, especially if you're a smaller company, right? You can't afford it.
Right.
And you're spending, and most of the time they're spending time during work looking for other employment. Right.
And so it's not totally an unusual situation for businesses, and a lot of businesses, corporations have, brought in or introduced their wellness programs.
Sure.
And so, their wellness programs, and maybe it started with health. They were trying to get them to lose a little bit of weight or,
get
create
a little
butt. That also. All right. And then they actually introduced, some financial wellness into that. But most of the financial wellness is even just focused on, retirement planning, participating, in the company 401k plan and putting money into that. So now it would be an opportunity for them to maybe say, okay, more people are coming in, certainly all the new hires that actually have more of an interest, more of a need initially, just in paying down student loan debt than in saving for retirement.
And we touched upon this before. What I found interesting is I was doing research for our conversation was that there was a lot of this topic was really hot a couple of years ago during the election year. Everybody was interested. I haven't seen any articles written in the past year and a half about this, and it's still a huge problem, continuing to be one, right?
I mean, it is a huge problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you understand student loan debt is, $1.4 trillion. And so
that's it, right?
It's second in debt, behind home mortgages and ahead of credit cards. So it's substantial, and it's out there, and it's impacting a lot of people's lives and will impact, long-term our economy. That's probably a radio show for another day, but it is there, and it is of a large magnitude.
Yeah. And it certainly is, as we established, going to distort the labor market, which is going to make our current unemployment rate. Somebody told me that we're actually at minus 100% unemployment right now because there's 2 jobs for every person right now, even in Orange County. Yeah. So if you get, God, if we can clone people, I think we got $1 billion idea. Dane, let's start a new business.
Yeah, I think I'd start your daughter on that one.
I don't know if I want to clone my daughter. Then I'd have 2 kids, and that would be a problem. So how might companies be able to capitalize in this and attract the right people by helping to alleviate the student loan debt wound that people have right now?
Right, that exists, when they come into work, because I would have to believe that somebody did come in who is just fretting, on a month-to-month basis, paying off the student loan if their place of employment, their employer, was actually helping them with that problem. It could start to turn the tide on their feelings and their emotions towards their employer and their job in general.
Well, it's probably why companies like Google and Amazon, they're paying college grads a ridiculous amount of money coming out of college, probably to offset a lot of that cost and keep them motivated and engaged. They have the pocketbook to be able to do that. We don't.
Not everybody does, right?
I can't afford to pay somebody $200,000 a year coming out of college.
Right. No, in my restaurant days, I employed a lot of people and understand that certainly they would love every single benefit I was willing to give them. Yeah. However, me being able to afford all those benefits for them, wasn't really realistic.
So, as a small company, think about maybe building this into a benefits program.
And you could. And it could start with as little as, including it in your wellness program. So you've not only got your retirement planning, but you also have, college debt, and at least recognizing it.
They should create something like a 501k, which pays off your college debt first and then goes to retirement, right?
Which would
because you're putting money into retirement, you can't touch that. All you're doing is offloading your tax liability to when you're 65, but why not pay off that college debt first?
Right. It would be a logical first step there. And so I think the real first step is just recognizing
office.
Is just recognizing that it's there. Okay, you have this student loan debt, and let's make sure, that you keep a handle on this and that we're able to keep the payments going. There are ways that wouldn't even cost the businesses so much money to refinance some of these debts sometimes that a lot of people just wouldn't be aware of also, so that they could possibly consolidate some of their higher interest student loans, into a lower interest student loan, thus a lower payment. And this wouldn't be costing the businesses anything, but if it, was incorporated into their wellness plan, something that could work.
Yeah, that would be a great benefit for employees. All right, so recruiting people from outside industries is something that I think is really important, because there's going to be a lot of these people that are going to be probably solid achievement-focused people that are just in the wrong industry. Yep. And yet they just need to be tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, look, we got something better. So looking outside the box, I think accomplishment-based hiring would bring that to light. Opportunity. There's opportunity in this somewhere. You see any opportunity?
Well, it's a little outside the scope of what I do right now, but in doing my own reading and a little researching, for the talk today, I have to say it looks like there's a tremendous area out there to go and work with businesses just on how they should be incorporating or talking to, people coming in from an HR perspective, addressing their student loans and how, they're willing to work with them to help alleviate that problem.
Yeah, and since money is the main issue, and I'm not a big advocate of, hey, let's talk about the money, because I know it's the reason why people take a job, but sometimes career fulfillment is a little bit more important. But what about looking into providing performance incentives that'll offset some of that debt? That might be a really creative way in which a company can attract people.
That is a terrific way.
Thank you. I thought of that all on my own.
You know?
All right. So, Dane, you know what? I want to thank you for being here and investing your time in today's Higher Power Radio Show. How would somebody best get in touch with you if they're interested in college planning or maybe your new sideline business that we just created?
HR consultant on employee benefits on how to pay off college debt.
Yeah, you're focused on college debt. I mean, hey, why not? I just made you a 360 business, baby.
All right, so my business is Oracle College Planning, and people could Google that. I'm pretty easy to find on.
How do they find you on the web? What's your URL?
On the web, oraclecollegeplanning.com.
Okay.
And so, our advice, my advice to anybody with high school aged, college-bound kids, come to one of our free monthly workshops or one of our we have a couple each month live webinars, just to hear about ways to save money on the cost of college.
And I'll give you another little plug here because I think you've been successful in helping people save, like, how much percentage of?
Well, the average saved, this is for 2017, we already have the numbers in for last year, and so out of 1,200 people that we helped, the average saved going to a private school was $98,256.
Woo! All right, so if you got kids and getting ready to go to college, call Dane. What's your email address and phone number?
All right, email address, dane@oraclecollegeplanning.com.
Spell that out.
ORACLE.
And it's DANE.
Oh, DANE,
Okay.
that part.
Yeah.
Dane@oraclecollegeplanning.com. Phone number 949-398-4300.
All right. Well, I want to thank our listening audience to tuning in to this week's episode of Higher Power. A quick thanks to our team, our engineer, Paul Roberts, our producers, Andrea Ballin, Shanti Ryle, and Kim Iverson. If you like this show, please subscribe, rate, and review. Your input is welcome and needed to improve the content of our show. Join our community at Hire, that's HIRE, Power, POWER, Radio, RADIO.com, or subscribe to Higher Power Radio on your favorite platform. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, YouTube, and we're getting ready to launch on radio.com. Follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook at Higher Power Radio Show, or you can follow me on Twitter at Rick_Gerard. Tune in next week. We'll be actually talking or doing another show on gamification, which I'm pretty excited about. Our guest is going to be Hank Levine, the president and CEO of iPlace USA. I'm your host, Rick Gerard, and you have been listening to the Higher Power Radio Show. Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Higher Power with Rick Gerard on OC Talk Radio.